Welcome everyone to the continuing 2023 to 2024 School for Advanced Research Colloquium series. My name is Paul Ryer. I'm the Director of Scholar Programs, and I'm delighted to welcome you to today's event. Before I introduce today's speaker, I have a few announcements. So first, I'd like to thank our sponsors for today's talk: Anonymous, the Patricia G. Foshi Charitable Fund, the Mellon Foundation, the Palahamo Foundation, Thornburg Investment Management, the Wenner-Gren Foundation. 2 weeks from today, at this exact time and place, we will have our next colloquium presentation. Alberto Wilson will be speaking about the Pan-American City, and please don't miss that. So put it on your calendars on November 1st. And then lastly, those of you who are joining us online, please, if you have questions that occur to you during the talk, type them into the Q&A field, and I will be monitoring those questions, and I'll do my best to get a chance to ask them at the end of the talk. We'll take questions from the live audience as well, and we'll be interspersing those. So, without further ado, let me introduce today's speaker. Professor Bertin M. Louis, Jr. is an associate professor at the University of Kentucky in the Department of Anthropology and the program in African American and Africana Studies. He is also the president of the Association of Black Anthropologists, the ABA. He received his PhD in anthropology from Washington University in St. Louis. And has just been awarded the Sam Duvall Memorial Award for Anti-Colonial and Racial Justice from the American Anthropological Association. Dr. Louis has studied the growth of Protestant forms of Christianity among Haitians transnationally, as you can see in his 2015 New York University Press book titled "My Soul is in Haiti: Protestantism in the Haitian Diaspora of the Bahamas." Today he'll be speaking about his current book project, Anti-Haitianism in Paradise, Marginalization, Stigma, and Anti-Blackness in the Bahamas. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Louis.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank the School for Advanced Research for having me as their 2023-2024 Wenner-Gren Anthropology and the Black Experiences Fellow. I am deeply grateful for this opportunity to work on a book project which emerges from 17 years of research about the Haitian diaspora of the Bahamas and is also very near and dear to my heart. So as it was mentioned, I'm a cultural anthropologist by training. I'm also the son of Haitians who migrated to the United States back in the mid-1960s. I grew up in Staten Island, New York, but it wasn't until I went off to college at Syracuse University that I started to actively research the cultural and historical heritage of Haiti and the lives of Haitians in its diaspora. Now, these interests culminated in my book with NYU Press, My Soul is in Haiti: Protestantism in the Haitian Diaspora of the Bahamas. Now, since the publication of that text initially the hardback was 2014 and then paperback 2015, my research continues in the Bahamas with second-generation people of Haitian descent. So while I was doing the research for this book and writing it, I was very much interested in finding a way to articulate the type of oppression which Haitians experienced in the Bahamas. Now, Haitians tend to leave their home country during periods of intense political and economic turmoil and environmental degradation, migrating to countries throughout the Western Hemisphere and within the surrounding region. Today we're going to be talking about the Bahamas. A lot of the Haitians that I interviewed, they migrate from this northern part of Haiti, like the northern department and northwestern departments of Haiti. Many take a boat on this little island over here called La Tortue, and they take it to Great Inagua. It's only 55 miles from there. And then they make a series of other migrations so they get to the island that they want to. Most of them will end up here on the island of New Providence, where we find the capital, Nassau, as well. And they constitute anywhere between like 30 to 60,000 people in a population of about 400,000. Many Haitians are undocumented workers employed as restaurant staff, construction workers, housekeepers, and landscapers. And this population over time has become highly stigmatized owing to continued Haitian migration to the Bahamas, negative media reports concerning Haitians, a lack of research on the Haitian population of the Bahamas, Bahamian xenophobia, and Bahamian governmental policies enacted to limit a Haitian population that is perceived as becoming too large. Haitians are viewed as threatening Bahamian sovereignty and social stability because they are generally regarded as being unassimilable. They can't be assimilated into the Bahamian society, which in fact is not necessarily the case because their children are born there. Many of them become Bahamian citizens, and they integrate into Bahamian society. The people of the Bahamas are very hostile towards Haitians, specifically foreigners in general. I really hope there's no Bahamians in the audience or online either. I'm going to hear it. They love me down there. So I conducted 2 research trips back to the island of New Providence, one in 2012 and another one in 2018 to learn more about the lives of the second generation of people of Haitian descent. Now, during the 2018 trip, I decided to label the type of discrimination which Haitians experienced as racism, but I was never fully satisfied with that explanation. Yes, some of my research consultants viewed the younger ones, they viewed the constant teasing they received in school, the slurs, the experience of being a non-citizen, and I'll get into a little bit more about that later, as manifestations of racism. But at the time, I viewed the population of Haitians and the population of Bahamians, and the Bahamas is like 85% black, as being of the same race. They're both African descended peoples and populations that are racialized as black. They become black through different processes. Now, additionally, discussions I had with other scholars, particularly a fellow anthropologist who conducts research in the Dominican Republic, pushed me to re-articulate the type of oppression people of Haitian descent experience there. And that's when I began to search for a different way to name yet capture much of what people of Haitian descent experience and more. I was reticent to do this at first because of the scholarly association of the phrase anti-Haitianism, which is primarily in the Dominican Republic. A lot of scholars know that when you talk about anti-Haitianism, you're talking about the Dominican Republic. But revisiting 2 articles I wrote for public consumption, one in 2015 and another one in 2019, reminded me to name this form of oppression as anti-Haitianism. So that's what I'm doing for the book project, and also discussing this Bahamian variant with detail, as well as analyzing anti-Haitianism as a phenomenon, not only with national implications, but also regional and also global implications. So in May of 2015, I wrote an essay for Dr. Mark Anthony Neal's blog. He's a professor at Duke University, about the importance of Haitian Flag Day and how other black people around the globe should celebrate the day, and how the flag is like an anti-racist symbol of revolutionary blackness and freedom in a continuing time of white supremacy and anti-blackness. And I wrote the following. Haitian Flag Day celebrations take on renewed meaning, and this is in 2015, when we recall the recent treatment of Haitians in the Western Hemisphere. In February 2015, a young Haitian man was lynched in the Dominican Republic. The lynching occurred at a time where the Dominican state revoked the citizenship of Haitian-descended Dominicans. Essays from sociologist Regine O. Jackson's edited volume, Geographies of the Haitian Diaspora, discusses how Haitians serve as a repugnant cultural other in Jamaica, Guadeloupe, and Cuba. In Haiti, a post-earthquake cholera outbreak introduced by Nepalese soldiers from the United Nations Stabilization Mission in Haiti, or MINUSTA, claimed over 9,000 lives at the time and affected over more than 700,000 people. This preventable tragedy is in addition to earthquake aid that did not go to Haitians, but mostly went to, and let me just stop for a second and give you a footnote. When the earthquake happened in Haiti on January 12, 2010, obviously it was, a devastating moment in human history. Over 100,000 Haitians perished as a result of that. And what was interesting was here in the United States, there was a lot of charity that was mobilized to address these issues, to address like the reconstruction of Haiti and parts of Port-au-Prince and Léogâne that were damaged. And at one point, almost 1 out of 2 American households donated money towards Haitian relief efforts, which is astounding. It's astounding, So you think with all that money, let's help the Haitians. But getting back to the quote, most of the money went to donors on civilian military entities, UN agencies, international NGOs, and private contractors. Some of the money trickled down to Haitian NGOs as well, non-governmental organizations. A recent an essay from Latin correspondent reporter Natalie Batiste recognizes anti-Haitian policies in Brazil, Canada, the Dominican Republic, and the United States. So, and I wrote, while we must attend to the differences in the local histories, varying socioeconomic factors and political situations of each country, mention a pattern which includes alienation, expulsion, elimination, marginalization, and stigmatization of Haitians is evident when reviewing recent news and scholarly publications. So even back like in 2015, I was beginning to think like constellationally. I'm connecting the dots about an anti-Haitian pattern that not only existed in the Dominican Republic, the main nation associated with this concept, but in other countries as well. So in 2015, I even named this type of discrimination Haitians were facing as anti-Haitianism. And I wrote at the top here, anti-Haitianism is also prevalent in the Bahamas, where I conduct anthropological research and where a new immigration policy adversely affects Haitians. A brief anecdote that I discuss in my book, My Solos in Haiti, illustrates this fact. Now, towards the end of fieldwork in 2005, I was invited by a friend to speak to children at an after-school program about the importance of education in their lives. Now, this program was located in one of the island's poorer neighborhoods. Now, the children who sat around me in a circle were all black, meaning they were all primarily of African descent. So during my stay in school speech, saying things like, pay attention in class, do your homework, crack is whack, hugs are not drugs, things of that nature. I noticed that a girl was struck with a look of astonishment when I mentioned that I was of Haitian descent. Now, take a look at me. I look like, some American guy who's down there. After the talk, I sat down with her and her friends and asked why she looked so surprised. She replied that I look Bahamian, not Haitian. I asked, so what does a Haitian look like? And they replied in Bahamian Creole, they scrubby, meaning that Haitians have an uneven or mottled dark complexion. They also said of Haitians that they black, and black with like a negative connotation. They smell bad, they look like rat. So these comments, they came from children who are of African descent. And the darkest black-skinned Bahamian child in that group was the one that said Haitians were scrubby. The one who could be described as being scrubby, having an uneven and mottled dark complexion. This story from the field reflects the current crisis in Haitian identity in the Western Hemisphere and why it's necessary to celebrate Haitian Flag Day as a way to resist the dehumanizing effects of anti-Blackness. Anti-Blackness is a key component of white supremacy, an historically based, institutionally perpetuated system of exploitation and oppression of continents, nations, and peoples of color by white people and nations of European continent for the purpose of maintaining and defending a system of wealth, power, and privilege. So in this example, young Bahamian children do the work of white supremacy through their use of anti-Haitian and anti-Black stereotypes. And then again in 2019, I wrote an article for The Conversation about the stigma and discrimination people of Haitian descent were facing in the wake of Hurricane Dorian, which was a Category 5 superstorm which sat on the island of Grand Bahama for 24 hours, left an estimated 76,000 people of the Bahamas homeless and rendered parts of some Bahamian islands uninhabitable. I use the term anti-Haitianism to, and you see right up there, over here, I underlined that, anti-Haitianism in the Bahamas, to refer to the discrimination and stigmatization Haitians experienced there. But anti-Haitianism as a phenomenon outside the borders of the Bahamas and the Dominican Republic, it really became crystal clear to me in September 2021 as a scene unfolded at the US-Mexico border involving Haitian migrants. I'm gonna play a little video here. Hopefully this will work.
Under the International Bridge in Del Rio in Texas, a camp that's become home to thousands and which reveals yet another crisis at the border in America. They cross the Rio Grande River that forms the border between the US and Mexico, most of them Haitians, willing to take the chance that they will be processed and allowed in, willing to tolerate what's been described as a squalid existence here.
There is not enough food to give to everybody who's inside there. We need to get out of the camp to look for food. Things are worse.
It is these pictures of Border Patrol agents on horseback pushing migrants into the river that have caused so much anger. For some, they carry the echoes of the worst chapters of American history.
What we witnessed takes us back hundreds of years. What we witnessed was worse than what we witnessed in slavery. Cowboys with their reins again, whipping black people, Haitians, into the water.
The US has already removed thousands from the camp, large numbers flown back to Haiti, a country many of them left after the earthquake a decade ago and now consumed by violence and poverty. These chaotic scenes prompting the resignation of the US Special Envoy. I will not be associated with the United States' inhumane, counterproductive decision to deport thousands of Haitian refugees, Daniel Foote wrote to the Secretary of State. Our policy approach to Haiti remains deeply flawed. And it is a crisis the President has so far not addressed.
We could not see it as any more different from the policy of the prior administration, which the President feels, we all feel, was inhumane, immoral, ineffective, wasn't operationally working.
In Texas, the river crossings have been stopped for now, and the authorities say the camp will be empty within days. But the flow of those trying to reach America, it seems, can't be stopped. The only question is where and when this will happen again. Greg Milam, Sky News.
All right. The Haitian Bridge Alliance, a nonprofit organization which advocates for fair and humane immigration policies, the NAACP and other organizations denounce this mass deportation and violence at the border as racist. Now, these claims ring true when we compare how Ukrainian refugees were treated at the US-Mexico border. There it is.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us.
At a migrant shelter in Tijuana, Mexico, claims of a double standard. Special treatment for Ukrainians fleeing the war and being admitted to the U.S.
I love that the government is helping them because they're going through a really hard situation.
But that's not what happens for people here.
Exactly. We should all be treated the same way.
Bridget is Mexican and seeking asylum in the United States. Her story, just like others we met here.
Are any of you, maybe you can raise your hand if you're fleeing violence? Todos.
Yeah.
Everybody.
But they wait, sometimes up to a year. A far different story from what immigration attorney Erica Pinero has seen for Ukrainian refugees.
It's a very well-organized operation with vans picking folks up at the airport.
At a separate makeshift shelter in Tijuana set up for Ukrainians, we met Alona, who fled Kyiv.
My sister from Odessa called me and say,
You were scared.
yeah, sure. Okay.
See you
We
later.
went along as her family approached the border. 2 hours later, they emerged on the U.S. side where they were picked up by family friends.
How are you feeling?
Happy?
Relief for her, But back in Mexico, frustration.
How do you guys account for the difference in the treatment between them and you guys? Racism.
The Biden administration responding, saying while most migrants are still kept from crossing the southern border by the Title 42 public health order, it's granting, quote, exceptions to particularly vulnerable individuals of all nationalities on a case-by-case basis. Jacob Soboroff, NBC News, Tijuana, Mexico.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking.
All right. So based, on all of this, I decided to move forward on a book project. So based on 17 years of ethnographic research, this book, Anti-Haitianism in Paradise, Marginalization, Stigma, and Anti-Blackness in the Bahamas, is one of the first full-length studies which applies the concept and lived reality of anti-Haitianism to the Bahamas to reveal how it serves as a type of anti-Blackness encouraged and enacted by Black Bahamians, producing anti-Haitian marginalization and stigmatization. By studying local transformations in the Bahamas pertaining to its Haitian population, I offer a greater understanding of the adoption of anti-Haitianism as a political and nation-building strategy, and also how this form of anti-Blackness operates among people of African descent nationally, regionally, and also globally. Now, as I mentioned before, anti-Haitianism is best known as a form of political domination, marginalization, and a form of anti-Blackness in the Dominican Republic. Often referred to as Anti-Haitianismo, anti-Haitianism is rooted in the historical tensions and conflicts between Haiti and the Dominican Republic, which include but are not limited to the 22-year Haitian occupation of the Dominican Republic, now it's from 1822 to 1844, a genocidal massacre of tens of thousands of Haitians in the Dominican Republic in 1937, ordered by Dominican leader Rafael Trujillo, La Sentencia, the constitutional amendment adopted by the Dominican state in 2013 that rendered stateless tens and thousands of Haitian Dominicans and forced them out of the country in 2015. It is also an anti-Black form of marginalization when we look at the anti-Haitian global practices preceding the founding of Haiti as the world's first free Black republic in 1804, and then subsequent acts by Western governments and other actors that undermine Black freedom and rule. These manifestations include marginalization and isolation of Haiti after the Haitian Revolution by France and the United States, the subsequent indemnification of Haiti by France. A lot of people don't know about that, but Haiti was forced to pay reparations to the French, Usually when we talk about reparations in the 20th and 21st century, it's supposed to be for Black people. It's not supposed to be for the French. But this happened for years and years. An interference in Haitian affairs by the U.S. government and other entities such as foreign banks. Further, Haiti, Haitian people, and Haitian history and culture were stigmatized alongside these historical practices of marginalization, helping to influence the development of anti-Haitianism. The development of anti-Haitianism. Now, the book argues that anti-Haitianism was a political strategy used by the Progressive Liberal Party, or the PLP, in the years leading up to the independence and the post-independence period in the Bahamas. And the PLP was the majority Black political party that rose to be like the leading political party in the Bahamas during when Bahamian independence started on July 10th, 1973. Bahamian anti-Haitianism is rooted in distortions of Haitian identity and draws from the foundational anti-Blackness of the colonial white Bahamian regime and how Black Bahamians internalize anti-Black ideas about themselves and other people of African descent. The Bahamian version of anti-Haitianism also provides a case study which complicates our understanding of anti-Blackness, a form of dehumanization and anti-humanization based on Black racial identity. In particular, the book demonstrates how anti-Haitianism operates as a type of anti-Black assemblage which harms people of Haitian descent through normative peripheralization and other tools of oppression such as access to political and cultural citizenship, xenophobia, immigration policies, and also stigma. The book will show how, over time, the Bahamas constructed this anti-Haitian edifice to give this fairly new nation, it's 50 years old as of 2023, a sense of national identity and also demarcate the boundaries of Bahamian citizenship through a form of anti-Blackness. Now, additionally, the book project complicates our understanding and application of anti-Blackness theory, which at times tends to homogenize Black populations as experiencing similar anti-Black oppression, when in fact hierarchies exist within Blackness that are based on class, gender, nationality, religion, sexual orientation. So, in other words, there needs to be more specificity and attention to nuance and material realities when using anti-Blackness as an analytical tool. So anti-Haitianism theory is an excellent example of how we can understand the intricacies of anti-Black oppression while offering alternative vocabularies to articulate said oppression. And just a brief example of what I'm talking about. So in the United States, whenever recently, like when an unarmed Black person is killed by the police, all different types of Black people are afraid. And many of them are outraged because of that moment. But when we look at those moments in specificity, the majority of the folks who end up being killed by the police are working class Black folks. They're folks, and also the ones that you see protesting in the streets, mainly working class Black folks. Black folks are like the middle class, for example, the upper middle class. They may be afraid, but they're not necessarily affected by this type of anti-Blackness in the same way. So that just to give you a sense of like trying to understand anti-Blackness theory with some little bit more nuance. So to get to the book, it's going to be split into two sections. The first section provides a historical context that deals with colonialism, coloniality, which is like the culture of colonialism, Haitian migration and Bahamian independence, along with the development of what I'm calling the Bahamian field of racial positions. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. The second section will provide examples of the contemporary manifestations of anti-Haitianism and anti-Blackness in the Bahamas. And the book will conclude with a discussion of further areas of research related to anti-Haitianism. Now, the introduction is going to open up with this crisis at the border, at the U.S.-Mexico border. Now, when that happened, many Haitian migrants were quickly deported to Haiti, where the Haitian president Jovenel Moïse had been assassinated on July 7th, 2021. Haiti was also reeling from an earthquake on August 14th, 2021, which left over 2,000 people dead and over 10,000 people injured. Discourse on Haiti and the crisis of Haitian migrants at the border drew international attention and mainstream media coverage. Now, while that drew international attention, similar events happened in the Bahamas in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian. In that moment of devastation and national crisis, the then Prime Minister Hubert Minnis and leader of the Free National Movement, that's like the main opposition party in the Bahamas, decreed that illegals will not be tolerated in the Bahamas. And there were many Haitians that were deported in the aftermath of the hurricane, regardless of their legal status. Some of them may have been undocumented, some of them were, had work permits. So both of these events are examples of anti-Haitianism. And in the book, I'm making this ideological distinction between anti-Haitian practices, such as the rejection and deportation of Haitian migrants, and anti-Haitianism as a political and nation-building strategy employed by the Dominican state, the Bahamian state also, as they transitioned, as the Bahamian state transitioned from a colony to an independent nation. I'm also going to talk about some of the dimensions of anti-Haitianism as well. So the introduction also discusses the methods. I use ethnographic methods such as interviewing, participant observation. I discuss the theories that I draw from and I build upon, such as anti-Blackness theory and also building anti-Haitianism theory. And also, the book also draws from and also introduces the reader to the intellectual terrain of the ethnography, which includes a discussion of anti-Haitianism influencing a certain type of structural violence, through all the different policies and practices that happen. And then also anti-Haitianism influencing a form of racialization. So in section 1, chapter 1, it traces the construction of race and the establishment and development of anti-Blackness in the British colonial project in the Bahamas in the 18th and 19th centuries, and how it affected the enslaved Africans. And then at a certain point, they were manumitted, they were freed, but also engulfed and enmeshed in exploitative relationships. I discussed the colonial framework created by the British to associate blackness with negative connotations, including enslavement and the emancipation period, and considered the early development of the Bahamian field of racial positions. And this field of racial positions is a concept that I draw from political scientist Claire Kim. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. I then transitioned to a discussion of colonial anxieties about a growing Haitian population in the 20th century as the Bahamas transitions from white minority rule to black majority rule. In particular, I discussed the PLP strategy moving from anti-racist rhetoric against white minority rule to anti-Haitian rhetoric and policy in the independence period. So central to this book and this chapter is an argument about processes of racialization, which happen to all actors. So essentially, with racialization and race, there are like at least two large camps of scholars that talk about race. There's some scholars who believe that race, we can trace race all the way through antiquity. Those are folks who were like classicists, some historians. And then there's other scholars such as anthropologists, sociologists, some political scientists who believe that race emerged from certain material conditions, specifically material conditions related to the transatlantic slave trade, the Industrial Revolution, and when certain Europeans like the English, the Irish, they weren't thought of at a certain point as they were thought of as those identities at a certain point, but later in life and in time, they're racialized as white. Same thing happens to black folks who are, Africans, of various different ethnic, backgrounds who are, forcibly transported across the Atlantic Ocean, and they become racialized as black. And we see this emerging in, legal documents, the laws, to make these identities, they kind of solidify these identities. So all these different actors are racialized. Claire Kim's racial triangulation theory helps us to understand how hierarchical racialization occurs differentially and historically. So, for example, in the 19th century, the racial triangulation of black Bahamians was in relation to whites and mixed race Bahamians. So you see that you have whites here up top here. You see the mixed race or like brown folk here, and you have blacks, and then you have these different axes that they're racialized on. And I'll talk more about those axes when I talk about chapter 4 of my book. Chapter 2 discusses Bahamian independence in 1973 as a critical moment in the creation of the Bahamian nation state and the social construction of the Haitian other in relation to the Bahamian identity. The Bahamian Constitution of 1973 based citizenship on jus sanguinis, blood citizenship, effectively marginalizing children born to undocumented Haitian nationals in the Bahamas. When pre-1973 Bahamas followed the principle of jus soli citizenship, meaning if you were born on Bahamian soil, you were a Bahamian citizen. The book also discusses immigration policies during this period, which attempted to regulate immigrant populations, but actually created liminal legality and the tactics of raids and deportation. The development of the new Bahamian nation state and the search for a Bahamian national identity set the stage for the marginalization and practices of anti-Haitianism, which developed in the late 20th and early 21st century. What are the contemporary effects and results of anti-Haitian policies in the Bahamas? In section 2, chapters 3, 4, and 5 address this question, mainly focusing on the lives of the progeny of Haitian migrants, the so-called Haitian Bahamians, the ones who are culturally Bahamian, but culturally Haitian. Their nationality is Haitian. So when they're born in the Bahamas and their parents do not have a Bahamian passports, meaning they're not Bahamian citizens, the children are assigned the nationality of their parents. So they grow up in this nation as Haitian, being labeled as Haitian. I also refer to them as Bahamians of Haitian descent as well. Chapter 3, Why Was I Born Here? Stigma, Statelessness, Citizenship, and Identity describes the architecture which produces anti-Haitianism and how it creates a pervasive stigma for those who grow up Haitian in the Bahamas. I draw from literature related to the stigma of being Haitian, plus interviews conducted with Bahamians of Haitian descent in 2012 and 2018. I recount their experiences as de facto stateless people, and I refer to them as de facto stateless people. They're not stateless people in the classical or traditional sense, de jure statelessness, like you have that Hannah Arendt, described during World War II. People like the Rohingya, for example, in Southeast Asia, who are not nationals of any country anywhere. These kids are de facto stateless in the sense that like they fall through like the cracks and they slip through the cracks of these all these different laws and policies that render them like non-citizens essentially. I also discuss how Haitian statelessness in this context is an exceptional, foundational, and unresolved form of anti-Blackness. Becoming a Bahamian citizen is possible and happens for many second-generation Bahamians of Haitian descent. So at the age of 18, they can apply for citizenship. They have this brief period, like a year, where they can apply for citizenship. And some get citizenship quickly, within months. Some wait many years. And that has to do with the process and how some of the documents that are required to become a Bahamian citizen. All right. So, however, the stigma of being Haitian, which is the conflation of denigrated Blackness and a denigrated nationality, it remains. As they move from stigmatized non-citizens to less stigmatized second-class citizens, I look at their identities and how they define themselves in light of the stigmatization of Haitianness. Now, chapter 4, which I title Extra Black Illegals, the racialization of Haitians, is a chapter where we see how anti-Haitianism influences a form of racialization and that people of Haitian descent become a certain type of denigrated black subject, which over time forms a base of Bahamian racial hierarchy and also provides Bahamians, a majority black nation, an elevated sense of self. The explanation of this racialization draws from interviews conducted in 2018 and also uses racial triangulation theory by political scientist Claire Kim to explain how Haitians are racialized on two axes. The first one is civic ostracism, and we see civic ostracism right here. It goes down like from black Bahamians to black Haitians. Now, if you remember in the previous slide from like the 19th century, we had like mixed race Bahamians here, white still on top, but then black Bahamians down here. So we have that one axis of civic ostracism, and then a term I introduce right here is this dashed arrow, which I refer to as relative degradation. So, and this will show you how like this Bahamian field of racial positions, it changes over time. Helps you understand racialization, how it changes over time. And also, overall, it reflects how race is a process that's always historically situated and consists of racial categories and meanings is fluid, unstable, decentered, and constantly transformed by changing historical, social, political relationships. And the ensuing result of this racialization is that Bahamians of Haitian, they're treated like perpetual foreigners in the country of their birth, and also symbolizes a denigrated type of black person, which helps Bahamians construct their identities. Now, chapter 5, Navigating Anti-Haitianism, Negotiating Cultural Belonging, looks at the effects of anti-Haitianism on Bahamians of Haitian descent and how they manage and navigate this pervasive form of discrimination. So one of the ways that they deal with it or manage it is drawing on religious practice as a way to negotiate cultural belonging and build dignified senses of self while balancing their Haitian and Bahamian heritages. The chapter also investigates the internalization of anti-Haitianism, and I offer the term internalized anti-Haitianism, which provides a vocabulary that articulates this under-analyzed form of discrimination. The chapter concludes with a discussion of how Bahamians of Haitian descent, some hide their identities while others are proud of their heritage. And I also I have a brief discussion of out-migration, people who just leave the Bahamas as a solution to how to deal with the oppression. And I'm going to read from the Negotiating Cultural Belonging Through Religious Practice section of this chapter, which just deals with religion and also deals with the idea of religious habitus, what I'll talk a little bit about. Now, anthropologist Terry Ray and sociologist Alex Stepik observe in their ethnography of religious practice of the Haitian diaspora of Miami, Florida, that Haitians practice three major religions: Catholicism, Vodou, and Protestantism. Regardless of their location within a transnational social field, which includes Haiti, the United States, the Dominican Republic, and other places like the Bahamas, Haitians operate in what Ray and Stepik refer to as a religious collusio, a field in which people interact within. They argue that this religious collusio is a shared substratum of features that runs beneath the three major religions practiced in Haiti and its diaspora. Specifically, the Haitian religious collusio consists in large part of a practical sense that life in this world is inhabited by invisible, supernatural forces that are to be served and which can be called upon and operationalized towards healing ills, mitigating plight, enhancing luck, and achieving goals. The collusio also unites Haitians across denominational and religious differences despite the antagonisms that invariably occur through the interaction of the different religions. Their historical interplay and the subsequent habitus, the matrix of perception through which one makes sense of the world, and the seat or generator of one's dispositions, inclinations, and tastes, which are produced from regularized inculcation in each varying religious tradition. And you can hear the Bourdieu in here. This is based on Bourdieu's work. So I've established how Haitians are stigmatized and marginalized in the Bahamas. Haitian Protestantism then, it functions to provide a sense of dignity, and that's my emphasis, that may be otherwise absent, a sense that they are worthy in spite of it all. Evangelical Protestant religious congregations are a source of support, solace, and identity formation. Haitian church participation is also a collective space which allows Bahamians of Haitian descent to learn Haitian Creole and other Haitian customs while developing a hybrid religious habitus. Now, one of the places where I did my research was a church called Victory Chapel Church of the Nazarene. Founded September 25th, 1988, as a church to minister to the children of Haitian descent born in the Bahamas, Victory Chapel is a one-level church with a sanctuary that can accommodate at least 250 people. The church moved to its Mini Street location in 1995. Reverend Dr. Antoine Saint-Louis, a charismatic Bahamian of Haitian descent, heads Victory Chapel. He observed in an interview in 2012 that the Haitian children born in the Bahamas were unable to appreciate their two cultures until a church was created where young people could come and be proud of their parents and their place of birth. So and Victory Chapel serves at this place as a space. And a look at a typical church service at Victory Chapel partly illuminates how religious habitus develops. So for example, oh no, not to that one yet. In my study of Haitian Protestantism, a song that I've heard at churches in Brooklyn, New York, at family gatherings in Boston and Washington, D.C., and at Victory Chapel on several occasions is Dieu Tout-Puissant, Almighty God, selection 27 from the Mélodies Joyeuses, Joyous Melodies, section of Chant d'Espérance, and you can't really see it over there, but that's a cover of Chant d'Espérance, which means like Songs of Hope. And it's a Baptist hymnal that circulates throughout the diaspora. Embodied aspects of transnational Haitian Protestant church culture are on full display at these services, such as the swaying of one's hands in the air, stretching out one's hands, reaching to God and shouting in Haitian Creole, Amen, béni soit l'Éternel, which means praise the Lord, gloire à Dieu, glory to God, and merci Seigneur, thank you, Lord. Haitian migrants and Bahamians of Haitian descent embody Haitian Protestant culture by kneeling at the altar in fervent silent prayer, while others are standing and singing from memory or from their hymnals. Like at other Protestant churches I observed transnationally in St. Louis, Missouri, Boston, Massachusetts, also in Port-au-Prince. When Dieu Tout-Puissant was sung at Victory Chapel, it was first done in French, and then the rest was in Haitian Creole, translating to Allah ou grand, how great thou art. Sunday morning services at Victory Chapel, they also reflect how the church ministers to the spiritual and social needs of Haitians born in the Bahamas. These church services are usually bilingual, and you find a Bahamian of Haitian descent usually would translate La Parole de Dieu, the Word of God, into English for those Haitian-descended adherents and visitors who did not understand and or fluently speak or understand Haitian Creole. Now, a particularly morbid example from my fieldwork reflects the insecurity of people of Haitian descent in the Western Hemisphere, as well as how religious habitus is embodied physically. On June 24, 2012, after a religious service at Victory Chapel, give me a second. I hate talking about this, but it's necessary. Okay, so after this religious service, on June 24, 2012, I attended a mass funeral on Saturday, June 30th, for 11 Haitians who died when the boat they took to get to the U.S. capsized and all the people drowned. Included in the death toll were children. So this tragedy, it cast a dark cloud over Nassau's Haitian community. That somber feeling was evident at the night service at Victory Chapel I attended on the following Sunday on July 1st. Towards the end of that service, Dr. St. Louis held a special prayer for the youth of the church and asked them to assemble in front of the altar. He prayed for the protection of church's youth within Bahamian society. Now that night, the youth of Victory Chapel prayed fervently for like 25 to 30 minutes straight, longer than any other time I had observed in all of my transnational studies of Haitian Protestant culture, confessing and surrendering to God as is taught in the Nazarene tradition. Fervent prayer is a ritual that is linguistic and embodied, and a way to experience the divine, especially the Holy Spirit. As Chong describes in her work on South Korean evangelical women. Most of the people assembled knelt in front of the altar and prayed quietly with their eyes closed. As a leader of the church, Dr. St. Louis helps the youth of Victory Chapel interpret the world around them through a Nazarene worldview, and also aids them in learning the proper embodied techniques and methods with which to carry out such prayers, that is, teaches them how to pray. These young adherents in the church learn how to pray and be Nazarene Christians to counter, among other things, the dehumanizing effects of societal marginalization in the Bahamas because of their Haitian heritage, and also to resist the vices of the secular world, such as premarital sex, use and the use of drugs and alcohol. Specifically, Haitian children raised in the Bahamas, Bahamian society, according to Reverend Dr. Antoine St. Louis, they learn to hate the nationality of their parents because of how it relegates them to the bottom of Bahamian society. Bahamian society rejects Haitian Bahamians so that, among other reasons, the labor of their parents can best serve the Bahamian economy. Bahamians of Haitian descent who attend Victory Chapel also enjoy participating in the church, partly because it's the church of the eventual Bahamian, too. That is, many of the progeny of the documented and undocumented migrants who attend the church will eventually become Bahamian citizens. Victory Chapel reflects the liminal, stateless experience of people who are born Haitian, live as Haitians in the Bahamas until the age of 18, and then become Bahamian after they're granted citizenship. They enjoy attending, participating in these services and the activities there, because it's one of the few places in Bahamian society where their cultural hybridity is celebrated and it's also normative. Victory Chapel is also active in agitating for citizenship reform through United Haitian Association of Bahamas, or UHAB. The UHAB president, which is also Dr. St. Louis, at least at the time of my field research, he has repeatedly recommended to the Bahamian government officials that they grant birthright citizenship to people of Haitian descent born in the Bahamas. And this group, UHAB, they consist mainly of Bahamians of Haitian descent, but they also support the Bahamian government's stance on immigration, which adversely affects Haitian migrants. And then the book concludes with a discussion of how more areas of research need to be conducted to elucidate how anti-Haitianism works as a particular system of inequality, not only within the Bahamas, but also in varying nation states. Think about the list of nation states that are enumerated at the beginning in that 2015 essay about Haitian Flag Day. More research needs to be done, needs to be conducted to understand how anti-Haitianism works and operates across national borders to produce anti-Haitian outcomes. And a study of the outcomes of the entities, the states, the individual actors who uphold, enact, and practice it. Other forms of anti-Haitianism, like gendered anti-Haitianism, are other areas of research which can yield more insight into the development and distribution of this form of anti-Blackness. All right, I'd like to thank the School for Advanced Research, Wenner-Gren Foundation, Michael Brown, Paul Ryer, Erica Pompa, and the SAR staff, and also the other SAR fellows. Thank you.
If I might, we have, I'd like to again invite people who are with us online to type in a question. I will monitor that. But we were going to start with some questions from our in-person audience. That was such a moving talk. Thank you. I'm also a little speechless. So,
Alberto has a question.
Alberto had the first question. Yeah.
Hello. Dr. Lewis, thank you. One of the striking characteristics of the Caribbean is overlap sovereignty as a vestige or real manifestation of colonialism. Mm-hmm. So I wonder how that sort of also structures Haitians' experiences in the Bahamas, and specifically access potentially to the UK. Mm-hmm. And then second, what was striking about that video about the Haitian migrant at the border was how well he spoke Spanish. Mm-hmm. So is there also a sort of a step migration occurring through the circum-Caribbean of migrants that are now ending up at the U.S.-Mexico border?
Great questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll answer the second one first. Yeah, there's like a sort of step migration. So I mean, some Haitians have taken a long circuitous route to get to like the U.S.-Mexico border. So for example, you have the example of some Haitians who worked as laborers during the, I forget what year it was, whenever Brazil hosted the Olympics. But I think it was, maybe 2016, 2018, whenever it was. And they worked, building stadiums and doing other types of things, to serve that part of the economy. But then you have others, who take another series of migrations. There are many who settle in the border town of Tijuana, for example. They stay there for, in some cases, several years. But some of them, they also may have learned, their Spanish in their interactions in the Dominican Republic as well, because so many Haitian migrants work in the Dominican Republic. The Dominican economy is very dependent on Haitian labor. So it may be associated with those types of, those types of migrations. And you'll also find other people at the border, like Africans as well, obviously Ukrainians too. So that border, historically, it wasn't just like 2021 when this happened. There's been people that go into that border for years, different types of migrants and refugees. As far as the issue of sovereignty is concerned, one of the things that I'm finding in doing this, in this research and thinking about it, is that there are Caribbean nations, for example, the way that they assert their sovereignty is through anti-Haitianism. They assert their sovereignty through like certain policies that they'll have. Like we don't want these, we don't want this many Haitians in here in our country. If people have been paying attention to the news, there's a lot of illegal arms that are Haiti's being flooded with illegal arms and ammunition, and unemployed Haitian men are joining gangs and groups and causing a lot of havoc and chaos in Port-au-Prince and other parts of the nation. And as part of a response to all of this, an international response to this, the the core group, a group of different nations, include the United States, Brazil, France, United Nations. They're essentially dictating, who's running Haiti and how these issues are going to be dealt with. My colleague, anthropologist Jemima Pierre, she argues, and I think convincingly, that Haiti is one of these poor nations that is being used as a laboratory to test out, what empire wants to do. And in relation to this issue of sovereignty, you have these other black states, such as Kenya. Kenya's leading a multinational force of 1,000. They're going to give 1,000 police officers to deal with these issues. And Kenya themselves, Kenyan citizens are highly critical of their police officers, the police forces, because of how violent they can be towards their own citizens. They've killed, protesters, for example. The Bahamas is sending people. They're sending, I forget the number of soldiers or police officers that are going to be sending, but some of them, they're Haitian Creole speakers. You have kids of Bahamians of Haitian descent who are part of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force that will, be part of that as well. Jamaica is sending, forces as well. During the earthquake, Brazil, which has the largest population of people of African descent outside of the continent of Africa, they were part of the relief efforts after the January 12, 2010 earthquake. So this issue of sovereignty is, you even have black nations who are participating in this, which is, can be argued as a way of asserting their sovereignty. Also, gaining more leverage, on the world stage at the expense of Haiti. So, yes, in the back. Hi.
Thank you so much for this really interesting talk. I have two questions, actually. The first is that I noticed, and perhaps it's a coincidence, I noticed that you use language such as negotiating, navigating, to describe the sort of tactics of this population to counteract this anti-Haitian sentiment from in the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. And I wondered if there are also forms of more straightforward activist resistance, especially after people gain citizenship. Is there sort of a form of political activism that emerges, for example, from these churches, that is also sort of part of that world? And the second question that is slightly related to that is, as a historian, I wondered, do Haitian immigrants sort of lean on or use the story of the Haitian Revolution as sort of the original anti-colonial black self-liberation movement to sort of bolster their, to combat that kind of anti-blackness and that kind of anti-Haitian sentiment? Thank you.
Great questions, thank you. So one of the things that's really interesting about the church, because these churches, whether they're Protestant churches or Catholic churches, they're like the premier institution, premier social institution that caters to all the different needs that Haitians have in the Bahamas, whether it be spiritual, political, sometimes financial as well. And in my opinion, I think that although these churches can give their adherents a sense of dignity, a sense of dignity through conversion, through being a practicing Christian. At the same time, it also inculcates them with a certain type of conservative politics that negates the impetus for some sort of active resistance. I mean, we could see that there's certain aspects of resistance that we'll see daily or at certain moments in Bahamian society by these by Haitian people and their Haitian kids, such as celebrating Flag Day and wearing wearing the Haitian flag, things of that nature, as a form of resistance. But I mean, those are really the weapons of the weak, essentially. I mean, there hasn't been any sort of huge organized sort of resistance to the way, to the policies, to the treatments and the things of that nature. And what's interesting is when many Bahamians of Haitian descent, they finally get that material symbol of citizenship, the passport, they just fade back into into the background. They get that passport, something they felt that they should have had as their birthright, and integrate in that sense. But they don't necessarily want, at least the ones that I've interacted with, challenge some of the things that are happening in the Bahamas. And as far as people leaning on the story of the Haitian Revolution as this, anti-colonial, moment in history, I mean, it's something that they reference, but it's not something that necessarily inspires them to, have the, resist the types of conditions that they're subjected to. And again, I have to point at the churches as well as being let's not rock the boat here. You're lucky to be in the country, So, my mom, she used to have this Haitian proverb. She used to tell me, "It's boucher nez pour boire de l'eau santé." It's basically you hold your nose to drink sticky water. And that's what a lot of Haitians do, in these situations. Right here, and then, right here.
It seems to me that, all the media presentation of Haiti, whether conservative or liberal, it seems widespread, views it through a lens of, earthquakes, cholera, political assassination, gang violence, and it creates the image of Haiti, which I have, as a behavioral sink. And what happens is it kind of justifies internally without thinking anti-Haitianism. And what do you think? That's the main representation you get, especially in the United States. What are the alternatives, or how can you have a countervailing force against that?
That's a great question. I mean, I actually gave a talk at the Museum for International Folk Art, which dealt with some of these issues. And Haiti, you'll see Haiti in the news when it fits these ideas of black pathology, of black instability, of the inability, the seeming inability of black people to rule themselves, And I think it's in the Western Hemisphere, it's the ultimate example of that. And it's tough. It's really challenging to challenge those powerful media images. Haitians try to do it in all sorts of different ways, through, Haitian culture, through the Haitian food, through arts, through Haitian political thought, books, things of that nature. But it's really difficult to, not only to counteract that, but because when you have those media representations, it's devoid of historical context. It's devoid of historical context and the reasons that, explain why Haiti's in the situation that it's in. One of the things that I lectured about back on Monday was basically the question that I presented to the audience was, how does this former colony, French colony of Saint-Domingue, at one point in human history produce 2/5 of the world's sugar and almost half of the world's coffee, referred to as the Pearl of the Antilles. How does this territory, go from being the Pearl of the Antilles to now to the media spread moniker, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere? When people think about Haiti, that's one of the first things that comes to their mind with regards to that. So it's challenging. It's really challenging. I mean, even Haitian culture is stigmatized as well. But But I don't know, I just, education is maybe one of the best ways to deal with that, but it's hard. It's hard to, I gave these folks on Monday like an hour-long presentation that took them from the Haitian Revolution to like contemporary Haiti. And all the things that happened in between, like Haitian debt, the 1915 Marine occupation of Haiti, the Duvalier regime with Papa Doc and Baby Doc, when Jean-Bertrand Aristide was elected and then ousted in 2 coups, the earthquake, all those different things. So it's challenging. And one of the things I think, now that I'm talking about this out loud, it just makes me realize that Haiti doesn't really have any allies. I mean, sometimes there's certain things that happen, like when Aristide was returned to Haiti with American military force. The first time he was ousted from the country, that looked like allyship, but I don't know. Haiti needs more allies, I guess. Yeah, but it's hard to challenge that. The gentleman behind you had a question, and you can go ahead.
Thanks. I wonder if there's an economic dimension, because often the people that are discriminated against have been brought into a country to do the work that nobody else wants to do.
Precisely.
And then they demand citizenship. And where I've worked in the South Pacific, in Fiji, it's Indians, in Micronesia, it's Asians, in England, it's the Irish and then West Indians. In my home country of Australia, originally Torres Strait Islanders, then after the Second World War, displaced people. So I wonder, and I'm an economist, I have to admit, so I always look, is there an economic dimension that, hey, we brought you in to be at the bottom and do things that are untouchable, and now you want the same status as us? It's not, and that's where the problems arise.
Yeah, I think partly it is that. I mean, I think the world, the stage of, we refer to it as globalization, neoliberal capitalism. It requires disposable labor, and I don't know if, possibly if there weren't so many Haitians in the Bahamas, this might be another story that I could be presenting to the audience today about a different group of migrants experiencing these types of these issues. But the impetus for citizenship is really coming from the second and the third generation of people of Haitian descent in the Bahamas. Their parents, they can be regularized as a permanent resident, and there's some who do eventually take that or able to achieve that legal status. Yeah, but at the same time, it's not. And this goes back to this question of resistance that my colleague back there had asked about and mentioned, or the question that she offered. And there's such a lack of resistance happens, and among these Bahamians of Haitian descent, but it's atomized. It's at an individual level. It's what can I do to get this passport, and then I can finally be a citizen here. And I could finally, feel like I'm, part of this nation instead of this stigmatized other. That's where I see, the limits of all this. Now, one of the reasons why, one of the things that I'm happy about, writing this book, is that I'm writing this book, and hopefully it gives these kids of Haitian descent a vocabulary to use. Not only a vocabulary to use to understand, to articulate their oppression, but to understand that, they're living in a society which in many ways is structured against them. And it's also not necessarily their fault that it's that things like this, this invisible architecture of anti-Haitianism, constrains them so much. I don't know, but hopefully for those who are exposed to it, may, possibly, think critically, even more critically about, not to say they're not critical thinkers now, but think even more critically about the society that they're living in, and how they could be part of a solution of making the Bahamas a more equitable society.
I wanted to read some of the questions that have come in from online. I have my own questions, but I can save those at least to talk with you afterwards.
You can say that for half.
And the first one comes from Amy Villarreal, and it is there a gendered dimension to anti-Haitianism? What kinds of hierarchies exist within this particular anti-Black formation?
Right. So that's one of the areas of research that I think that more work needs to be done now that I'm like kind of introducing this concept to the Bahamian context. And gender's not really my, that's one of the areas I'm deficient in, you know. I'm trying to get better at it, but I'm currently deficient in gendered analyses. And I'm trying. I have difficulty trying to understand what that looks like, and that's my own shortcoming as a scholar. But hopefully I can work with somebody else to help me think more expansively about that, what it might look like, what it does look like, how it affects different types of Haitians, differentially. So. That's another area of research that I have to work on.
Okay. I have more questions coming from online, but we were going to alternate if people in person had questions.
Yeah. I have an easy question. So if I understand your birthright citizenship is not available to the next generation, is that correct? So what is the citizenship process? What do you have to do to become a Bahamian citizen if you're a Haitian?
Right. So if you have Haitian nationality, you're born in the Bahamas. So you have that period at the age of 18 where you're eligible to apply for citizenship, and it requires gathering a series of documents, your birth certificate, your parents' birth certificates. If you have a parent or more than one parent, that is deceased, you have to get their death certificate, which is challenging in Haiti, where the records that they keep sometimes aren't. They have difficulty keeping records. And then, when you gather all these different documents, you go through this ceremony where you renounce your nationality. So you say, I renounce, Haitian nationality, and then you wave a magic Bahamian wand and you become a Bahamian citizen. A lot of the kids that I interviewed, they find that to be like a very humiliating process because of how they feel like the citizenship should have been theirs from their birth, and then just going through all the different types of discrimination that they encounter as kids, and I'll give you like an example like from one of my research consultants. She's really, really smart. She's currently here in the United States. Hopefully she wants to become a doctor. But when it came to, and she had great grades in school, in primary school, secondary school, and she was a member of a debate team as well, and got like, great different accolades, such as like they have these positions in some of the public schools that they refer to as government schools as head boy and head girl. So those are like the top students in their classes. And she told me of a time when she was in high school with other Haitian and Bahamian students, and a recruiter from the United States from a college came in to talk to them about the possibility to study here in the United States, to get like an advanced degree. All the kids of Haitian descent got up and left. They had to leave the room because legally they're not citizens. So it's like those daily mundane indignities which amass over time, which probably, now that I think about it, contributes to the lack of resistance towards, challenging policies and things of that nature to possibly make the Bahamas more equitable. I think that's a definite factor in it. Definitely.
Thank you.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah, we have a question from Lisbeth Springer, and the question is, speaking as a layperson, in regard to peer review of your scholarship, what is the role of any critique or input by Bahamian scholars?
Oh, I mean, any critique or input is, will hopefully make the scholarship that much stronger. I'm thinking about like some of the things that I've written, and you don't know, who reviews your work unless they tell you like, hey, I reviewed your book or reviewed this or that. But I think I think it'd be helpful. It's helpful just to hear those perspectives as well. Because one of the things that I'm also trying to do and lay out in like chapter 1 and chapter 2, which deal with, and I'll go back here a little bit. Chapter 1 deals with kind of like, the construction of race and like Bahamian history. And then chapter 2 is like, the birth of like, the independent Bahamas in like, July 10th of 1973. Let me see if I can find that. What was I talking about that? Okay, so these different chapters. I'm trying to also, I empathize with Bahamians. They're also part of the African diaspora. They're also racialized as black. They also are humiliated and denigrated in like the tourism industry, which is like the leading industry of the Bahamas, which makes its per capita income one of the largest, one of the highest ones in the Caribbean, Latin America. And I can empathize with them. I definitely empathize with them. I understand what they've been subjected to. At the same time, I would love to see like a struggle towards trying to not necessarily just use the tools that you inherit, after independence, but thinking critically about, how can we as a nation, like the Bahamas, exist, in this larger global economy, in a way that's, beneficial to as many people as possible. So, but yeah, like I said, I empathize with Bahamians, and I think that and I appreciate their critiques until they, spill into, vitriol and stuff, as I've seen on Facebook and other, mostly Facebook. And one of the interesting things about Bahamians is that they use, social media, especially Facebook, and they make all their posts public. So you can see whatever people are talking about. All these different debates that they have with regards to Haitians, like some of the things they say about illegals, like, you need to sink the boats before they get here. These are the types of and it's the same, it's like almost you can map the same rhetoric to like here in the United States. And that's why we were, so many folks in the Bahamas would refer to this as a form of racism. But myself, I'm still kind of like, okay, we can definitely, I try to sidestep the whole racism talk or analysis by saying, well, this is anti-Haitianism. This is definitely anti-Haitianism. I mean, if you want to talk about it, this is racism. If it's black on black racism, there are arguments for that and against that as well. But I think this is a clearer concept, which hopefully today you can see some of the contours of it, see how it extends outside of the realm of the Dominican Republic to other places as well. And then also just thinking about Haiti. And one of the last things I want to mention is that, embedded in the Haitian Revolution is this issue of human rights. Haiti was the first nation in the world to give unqualified equality to all of its citizens. Now, in practice, it didn't, work out that way. But it was written in the first Haitian constitution that everybody is a citizen. You even had people of other nationalities who fought against the people who would become Haitians in the Haitian Revolution, such as Polish soldiers, for example. And they saw what was happening, they could identify, there were some that could identify with the struggle of these enslaved Africans, and they fought on the side of the enslaved Africans. And after independence, they become Haitian citizens as well. That's not embodied in the Declaration of Independence. You know, all men created equal. It wasn't embodied in the French Revolution either, or in the Rights of Man. You know, those documents which emerge from these revolutionary moments. And that's, you know, I think one of the sadder parts of the whole story, because it's this struggle for a dignified life which is going on for centuries, collectively, for the Haitian people. You know, those are the folks who bear the brunt of so much of this, violence and discrimination and things of this nature. Yeah.
Well, go ahead. There's one more comment, but go ahead.
Yes, you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're looking for the mic? Okay.
Thank you for your talk, and good luck with the book.
Thank you.
My thought is, after living in Haiti for a number of years, is that the larger problem, it has to do with the numbers of people immigrating from Haiti, as well as the lack of education. And the reason I say this is because during the Duvaliers, Haitians were welcomed in Africa in particular, as
Congo.
scholars, as doctors, as technicians, as engineers. They were desired.
Yeah.
And any number of Haitians, of course, have been extremely successful in the United States and in other countries. And so I just wondered, in your thinking about the reasons for this anti-Haitianism, does it in essence have something also to do with just the inability of these other countries to absorb so many people leaving Haiti?
Well, you know, it's interesting because, like, when we talk about, like, you know, Haitian migration to the United States, certain periods you see, professional classes moving here, engineers, dentists, lawyers, doctors. My family was part of that. My father was a nephrologist, creating this, brain drain, from Haiti. Having all these different professionals who could be who could be living in Haiti to kind of like work to deal with the the day-to-day issues that arise within the country. That was a possibility. Later in time, like later into the 20th century, early 20th century, it's a different class of Haitians that are immigrating from Haiti. But this issue of like countries being able to absorb other populations, it could be it's selective in some nations. I mentioned I showed you the videos about like the Haitian the poor Haitian migrants who are trying to get into the United States. Apply for asylum. Some are able to apply for asylum. And contrast that with the Ukrainian refugees. Not too long ago, but before the Obama administration, you had this like wet foot, dry foot policy for Cubans. Who could if they could make it to the to like a Florida shore, put that dry foot on there, they would be admitted. Whereas Haitians were being sent back. Part of the reason why the Clinton administration helped return and reestablish President Jean-Bertrand Aristide as president was partly because they didn't want more Haitians coming to the United States. They were coming in droves, you know? And I think that like with that policy for Cubans, they fit into like, you know, a larger racial project that happens here in the United States. You know, many of them are racialized as white when they get here, or they might think of themselves as white in Cuba, but are definitely whitened here in the United States. And you know, they fit into like, you know, the larger politics of like these areas that they live in. But I mean, one of the things that like this book is about is anti-Blackness, right? And anti-Blackness is, I think, a foundational part of the modern world. Like when we look at like the way that we learn about like the world, the way that the modern world was shaped, many times the story of the African contribution to that is left out. You know, you have, you know, the enslaved Africans were, you know, valuable commodities, created valuable commodities such as tobacco, sugar, indigo, rice, things of that nature. And much of that work also helped to contribute to build nations, you know, build businesses, laid down like a financial foundation for like the Industrial Revolution, where that money was reinvested and all the different aspects of the Industrial Revolution, such as like, you know, the switch from like, you know, manual labor to mechanized labor and increasing, you know, productive capacities. It's there, so like it's central, but the way we're educated about these things, this is something that I try to challenge with my scholarship. And I think it's important to do so because, you know, only through that is like there's a hope of or a chance for equality, a chance for better conditions for other living conditions for other folks, you know. So, but when it comes to the issue of people migrating to like other countries and not being able to absorb them, the absorption is selective, in my opinion. You know, there's certain people that like, yeah, we'd love to have you, and like, no, we don't want you, and just like those two videos showed, you know. So,
yeah. Do you have room for one more question?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You answered some of my questions in your responses to other people, so I'll sort of switch. One thing I had been wondering that you responded to with Michael was whether people could be binational when they chose citizenship, but you said you have to renounce it.
Right.
So I'm kind of wondering about some of the dynamics within the community of people of Haitian descent in the Bahamas about one, what kind of imaginary of Haiti do they have? How are they thinking of it? I mean, I was sort of thinking, well, you know, do people entertain the possibility of going back to Haiti when they reach 18?
Right.
Are there continuing connections? I mean, Haiti's a hard place, but I mean, in recent decades. So I'm wondering sort of what kind of connections there are, and also the role of Haitian Creole. I mean, is that the first language for many people in second generation? I mean, I'm sort of wondering how they see the place they came from and the possibilities as they're making their own identities. And just wanted to observe that it's ironic that this is the Bahamas, and you put paradise in quotes, because you know, you sort of think of Krista Thompson's work where the Bahamas had been a place imagined as this malaria wasteland that was turned into paradise in the late 1800s.
Beginning to with it, like really like mass tourism, like in the 20th century, like showed that, made it like, you know, a paradise, at least for like, you know, for British, you know, folks, like American tourists, you know, people who wanted to buy land down there or in vacation. How do they imagine Haiti? So it varies. If you're dealing with like, you know, the adult Haitian migrant population, there's be a whole range of responses with regards to that. Many of them being, you know, positive, like, you know, they left, you know, what they considered to be a beautiful land, but they left because of economic, you know, reasons, you know, to help support their families, to, you know, send remittances, things of that nature. Within like the second and third generation of kids of Haitian descent, it also varies as well. I've interviewed some folks who were like, they spent time in Haiti and they were like, oh, I had a great time in Haiti. I felt accepted in Haiti. I felt like, I enjoyed myself. Some were looking, one person in particular that I interviewed, he was born in the Bahamas, so he didn't have, before 1973, after 1973, and because his parents were deported, he was deported along with them. So like where they originally lived, and he lived there for, in a village in northern Haiti for a couple of years. He began to speak Haitian Creole, I think, well after about 4 to 6 months there. And then it took him really a good year to be comfortable in French, which is like the language of instruction after a certain age. One of the things that kind of manifests itself in so many of the interviews that I do with Bahamians of Haitian descent is that their solution to like kind of ending these issues of discrimination in their minds is that they want Haitians to stop coming to the Bahamas. They're like, you're making it hard for me when you come here, you have legal status in like 3 weeks because you bribed somebody or whatever, or a month. Mentioning these things in the newspaper, you don't know how to keep secrets. They find that one of the solutions that they come up with is that if Haitians just stopped coming to the Bahamas, this discrimination would end. Yeah. And there's continued Haitian migration to the Bahamas, no doubt about that. But this issue of anti-Haitianism has taken on a life of its own. And it's taken time for that to grow over time and then solidify, especially in how it serves as a way for Bahamians to understand themselves. They kind of consider themselves to be civilized, more European. Folks who are kind of chasing the American dream. This comes a lot from American media, and then also the American tourists who come to the Bahamas as well. One of my great interlocutors, she was textbook definition of an organic intellectual, that Antonio Gramsci talks about. She referred to Bahamians as being ontologically American, or even ontologically white. These are these black people, and that says a lot about kind of the structural violence that they're kind of subjected to themselves. These Bahamians are. If we take it back to this school scene here, when I was talking to these kids, the guy who organized this after school program, he'd have them do art projects and stuff. He would find these kids doing collages. They cut out all these pictures of white people, and they say that's them. So I mean, psychologically, there's a lot of different types of violence on violence that are happening here, and it's associated with the anti-blackness. It's like that anti-blackness is kind of like the silent referent. Black doll, white doll. Yeah, like those black doll, white doll psychology tests from the 50s here. It's a post-colonial nation, but it's still pretty colonial. And then with the issue of Haitian Creole, you'll find some kids who speak it fluently in their households. Many of them serve as translators for their parents when they parents have to conduct business in English, or at the schools or whatever it may have you. And then you have the others who don't learn Haitian Creole, but they can be in part of churches, for example, where they can pick it up and begin to learn how to speak it properly and be intelligible in it. And But yeah.
Well, if I may end with the last comment from online. This is from Benji Louis. Great job, Dr. Louis. This is not a comment, just an acknowledgement that your scholarship is important to the Haitian community in the Bahamas and the Haitian diaspora. This is your sister, and I'm completely unbiased. Please,
thanks, baby.
Great way to end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.